For joining us today for Process Mining with Prolifics. I'm Erica Fink. I'll be our moderator today. I'll let them introduce themselves, but our presenters today include Roman Chancellor, Salim Hadim, and Brian Durr. This presentation will be recorded and shared on the web for later viewing. Also, everyone's microphones will be muted until the end of the webinar for Q&A. If you do have any comments or questions during the presentation, feel free to leave that in the comments box. And with that being said, I will flip it over to you, Roman.
Thanks, Erica. Appreciate it. And welcome everybody to Process Mining with Prolifics. Today, what we really want to cover with you all is, number one, thanks for joining. But we want to cover, everybody talks about the technical benefits that process mining can provide to organizations. We're now going to talk about some of the business benefits as well that an organization can actually benefit from process mining. And we'll also review a little bit of a demonstration at the end, and then we'll clean it all up with some Q&A at the end of the overall demonstration. But first things first is, what is process mining, right? As Gartner defines it, and I'm not going to read this because I think we all can, but the real key points in the definition that Gartner defines that we believe is that we're looking to improve real processes, not assumed processes. And we're looking to gain knowledge from already things that are within inside of our enterprise, such as readily available event logs. So as we walk through our presentation today, we will uncover how those digital footprints, as we say, can actually lead to better processes, more optimized outcomes, and at the end of the day, a better bottom line at the end of the day. So let's continue to move on here. So how is it better than traditional process mapping? And with this, I'd like to tell you a little story. So as I was building out this presentation over the past few days, my 9-year-old daughter asked me, Dad, what are you doing? What is process mining? I said, well, Reagan, why don't you think of it this way? Whenever Pop gives us directions to go meet him and Grammy to 30 minutes away to a restaurant out in the middle of nowhere, he typically writes them on the back of a napkin and says, here's the best route to get there. But what do we do whenever we get in our car? We open up Waze, we type in the address, and we let the GPS take us there. Now, why do you think we do that? I asked her, and she said, well, I don't know. It's easier. We use the Waze to take us everywhere. I said, well, we didn't always. We used to have to rely on those maps or have to rely on that word of mouth from the individual that understood that direction the best, or in this case, that process the best. So that would be a process owner. So whereas now in today's world, we have these tools that can enable us to be able to look at the weather, the traffic patterns. Are there new roads that could be available that Pop didn't know about to get us to that destination? And that's the easiest way that I think that it sinks in, is just to understand that it is like using a GPS. To whereas the traditional process mapping exercise is like breaking out an old map, or in MapQuest days, printing out your directions. We all want to get to that ideal process though. And whenever you write it on, in a Visio chart or in a PowerPoint diagram like this, it looks pretty simple. Here's a purchase request to purchase invoice type process. It's laid out. Whenever we give this off to business owners, off to process owners, they typically say, oh yeah, you know what? We can do that. We know what to do. But whenever we start to uncover, well, why is this taking so long? Year after year, or month after month, quarter after quarter, this process is costing this organization more and more money. Well, we go and we do a traditional process mapping exercise, and we really find out they didn't really know what they were doing, because they were trying to follow the ideal process, but the ideal process didn't take into account the other inefficiencies that are going on with inside of the organization, or possibly even shortcuts that the organization is taking to get that ideal process done quicker and faster, even if it's out of compliance. So what process mining does is it actually allows you to start bringing in those digital footprints, right? Start looking at those CRM systems, looking at the ERPs, the databases, the log files, and actually start producing through these new tools that we have that we'll talk about here in a little bit, but doing an in-depth analysis so we can benchmark, compare, monitor, and trigger workflows to collaborate on process improvements. Now, Salim, I know that you've got some, let me find you on the thing here so I can unmute you, but I know that you've got some individual experiences around this as well. Would you like to share anything around, how does process mining work in the enterprise today?
Certainly, Roman, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm Salim Harim. I head up the intelligent automation practice at Polyfix. So as Roman mentioned, so if we look at this from higher up in the value chain, organizations are always looking to achieve operational excellence. And then one of the main problem statement they have, how they can get started, right? And this is really where process discovery has been used in the past as a way to go and then understand your current state, if you will, with the goal of achieving operational excellence, whether you are looking to reduce cost, whether you are looking to save in the cycle time, whether you are looking into reducing risk, right? Or you are looking to improve a certain quality. So all these are the things that actually pushes organization to go and then understand the current state process. However, the traditional approaches, they really relied on a lot of interviews, a lot of stakeholders workshops that actually gives more of a subjective way of doing things, right? And then also the time it takes to go and then get that assumed, just as what Roman mentioned, not real world process, what is how your process is really executing. We get assumptions through those interviews. I think this step is being done. This is how I'm doing this step from the process owners. And then this takes a lot of time, and then it's constantly, and then that is sometimes is completely preventing these organizations that are looking to achieve operational excellence to start that effort. Another issue we have seen with the traditional process discovery approaches is the inaccuracies, the subjectivity of what we are gathering. And then if you like, and then if you ask the SMEs about metrics, like you would like to kind of get the time it takes for a given SME to do this manual work, or how long he stayed logging in, completing this purchase order, just like that process Roman mentioned, there is no quantification of metrics, right? Another key data that we need to actually build the business case. And then the last thing, it's more like what we use to monitor, right? There is this reliance on heavy IT implementation till they are actually ready with all the nice dashboards, etc. That's really when we start measuring any initiative that we started implementing. And then sometimes by the time we get all the monitoring, all the measuring, it's too late because we have invested millions and millions in implementing that initiative and then that improvement initiative that we're talking about. Now, process mining takes a different approach. It uses data, right? And then it introduces the concept of automated business process discovery. You don't have to spend a lot of time with those process SMEs. You don't have to go with subjective feedback that you gather in there. You don't have to spend months into discovering exactly how that real process versus that assumed / ideal process Roman called earlier. And then the way it works is very simple. People do the work, right? They go and then they leverage enterprise information systems. They can be CRM, they can be ERP, and then they can be any system, right? In this case, we are showing really the process of doing a purchase order the minute a customer sends basically an order for a good, and then what are the operational activities that the delivering company, that the fulfilling company does. And as you can see here, it goes from one step to another till like the invoice gets to send to a slide. But then in the process, they are creating digital footprint just as you walk, and then you have basically snow footprints, right? These, we call them digital footprints. And then thanks to the algorithms and then also the way process mining tools ingest and then also interpret the data, then you are able to see that real-time visualization of your process. And then in the process, there is this process context, right? There's this process concepts that getting applied that tells you, as you can see here, some of the highlights in red, a different way to look at your process. It can identify bottlenecks. Is there an activity that actually preventing this process to flow to other different activities? Is there like some rework? Is there like a loop? And then the good thing here is the metrics that is associated with it. Remember, I said earlier that those interviews, they have given us 0 metrics. And then if any of the SMEs has given us a metric, 100%, I would say 100%, there is a lot of margin of error in there. In here, with automated business process discovery, which is really new, not new discipline, but then it's a discipline that is made very, very easy. Thanks to process mining, we're able to get all those insights.
Excellent. Well, thank you for that. The next one, we can lead directly into that, right? And so it's the benefits that organizations see from process mining. I've called out a few. I love this graphic that we have because it really puts it into perspective, right? On the way that Prolifics is going about process mining with inside of our customer base. And I like to, start off with this slide a lot of the times because you can talk to it for 5 minutes or you can talk to it to 50 minutes, right? Initially, what we want to be able to do with an organization, right, Salam, is to identify those inefficiencies, right? To gain insights. Those insights could be to the process and the impact of cost, quality, risk, time. But the real important factor, and I'd love for you to expand on this, is our agile discovery process and methodology that we use that we can actually help our customers get to that guaranteed outcome, and then obviously getting to that continuous improvement as well, because that's really where the organizational impact is going to come in. And so would you mind discussing that a little bit about our methodology and the way that we're benefiting our customers today with process mining?
Certainly, Roman. So yeah, our methodology is really based on, it leverages the power of process mining for agile discovery. Now that we have this way of quickly discovering, quickly measuring, right, and then quickly monitoring a given process, business operation. So Prolifics added the guaranteed outcome aspect of it. Now that we are able to look at managerial processes, so we are able to identify those improvement opportunities, whether they are around cost savings, whether they are around time savings, whether they are around the reduction of risk and then increasing compliance, or the fourth one, which is any quality that you are looking for. For example, a healthcare organization, they can look into reducing the percentage of rejected claims. A purchase, a procure-to-pay company, right? They can be looking into the rejection of the number of purchase orders in which they are not getting discounts. So as you can see, we are able to measure all these aspects, and then Roman, if you go to the next slide, you will see then how we are able actually to build this methodology that actually gives you the way to do agile discovery very quickly, then guarantee that outcome before even implementing the improvement opportunities for our customers, because we have the proof through the process mining, visuals, and then how we are building the concept of a business case. And then after that, we go into implementing that business case, whether it's an RPA initiative, whether it's an employee productivity tool initiative, we are able to commit and then guarantee that outcome beforehand. Then after that, we prove it, the implementation goes live with real production data.
So Salam, let's do this because it's, where do I use process mining? I get that a lot out, as I'm talking to organizations. Let's take RPA, for example. And on the next slide here, if you wouldn't mind, and I know we didn't discuss this in the pre, but I know that you're awesome at this. So from an RPA perspective, walk me through how we would generate, a business case, or how that would fall within inside of this, Gartner graphic that we have here.
Certainly. So part of the Prolifics methodology we mentioned here is this third ingredient we are adding, right, which is the business case. So far, we talked about automated process discovery. We automated our focus on higher up in value chain to drive that operational excellence. Now let's talk about how we are building this business case for RPA, but then other implementations as well. It can be not just RPA. Mm-hmm. So what you see here is all the insights that a process mining exercise can give you, right? Whether it's a rework, people doing too much of a rework, process mining can give you non-conforming path. And then this is very important for compliance. You will think an organization that given a process would actually execute averaging 3 different paths. However, after a process mining exercise, they realize, oh, there are like 7 paths. So obviously 4 of those non-conforming paths, right, are problematic. Same thing, process mining exercise can actually give you bottlenecks. Bottlenecks is nothing than an activity that takes way longer than other activities. Why it was designed that way, right? They didn't realize it when this process was mapped that way. Process variants, these are, again, the different execution of business process, but then some of them are confirming, some of them are not confirming. And then it cuts into the manual work. So process mining also includes basically most of these tools, task mining as well. We are able to measure the different clicks, the different activities that given users are doing, which is heavy manual. And then this is really where we can easily link it to an RPA implementation. Now we are able to identify mundane and repetitive work that a digital worker or a bot, like using a technology term, is able to augment that knowledge worker to justify your RPA. However, right, what was done that traditionally with RPA, the minute they found this hotspot of manual work, we throw a bot on it without really looking at the end-to-end process and then the impact of automating that activity on a standalone versus all what's coming on in other activities from process perspective. Now, process mining gives you that visibility. We know the impact of automating that activity on the end-to-end process, and then the people that are waiting down in the different steps that is coming later. And another power of process mining, it comes with the tool, is the concept of digital twin of an organization. We didn't have it before when we did RPA, because, and then that's really what led people to over-automate, sometimes to under-automate. Now, what DTO allows you to do, it's creating your digital twin of an organization or your digital twin of given business process. You are able to still leverage the same data that you mined during the as-is phase, make those tweak changes in where you have introduced automation, and then now run it again through process mining exercise. You are able to monitor those improvements, those impacts before even implementing your digital worker.
Very
so
nice.
Here, it gives you that before picture before you go and then commit into a business case.
That's awesome. And I mean, I'm looking forward to, talking more and more about this with our customer base, because it is really powerful, especially with a guaranteed outcome based business case. It helps with, capital budgeting process. So what are some of the quantified benefits that we're seeing? And let's, if you don't mind, let's just talk about one of these really quick for 2 minutes. And then I want to pass it over to Brian so we can actually see this in action as well. But pick one of these, and let's talk about one if you don't mind.
Certainly, Roman. I think, if you don't mind, before that, I wanted to add one more point on the previous slide.
Sure.
On how also this outcome-based business case not only gives you a business case for RPA, but then you can see what you see on the right side here is the hyper-automation suite as defined by Gartner. So part of an improvement opportunity, it cannot just be RPA. It can be leveraging an intelligent business process management system. This is what we refer to as productivity tool. It can be also a business case for an integration platform as a service, what you see here as an iPaaS. Same thing, it can be an initiative to improve your user experience and then your customer experience, what you see as UX and CX. But then this is definitely game changer, the way I say it, because now you have that business case that gives you this outcome on those 3 value themes that we defined earlier, and then you are able to measure it before you go and then implement it.
So is it safe to say that if an organization is currently under a digital transformation, direction, and they're not doing process mining, that they're doing their organization a disservice with that digital transformation?
Certainly, Roman, yeah. Any digital transformation, it goes through stages, right? There is the inception phase of a digital transformation. Then there is the the progress of a digital transformation initiative. And then what process mining can actually, just as you said, is the GPS of that digital transformation. You are able to basically take that digital transformation, bring it down into the business processes in different organizations that impact that digital transformation blueprint at the organization level. Now, what you are doing is really linking strategy of your digital transformation with the operational aspect of your business processes. You keep changing them, then you see the impact on that digital transformation, you measure it and then track it, and then you are able to adjust your roadmap for digital transformation on the fly, rather than waiting till a given implementation is done, then do that feedback. In here, as we said earlier, that agile discovery methodology and then continuous improvement, you are able to really adjust your digital transformation as you go through these different initiatives.
Excellent. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass it over to Brian right now. And then after the demonstration, if we've got some time, we'll come back to this slide, because I do want to hit this for the folks, even if it's in the recording and folks can't join or view it today. I do want to talk about this, but Brian, I can't wait to see what we've got over on your side. So I'm going to go ahead and make you the presenter here. And let's see what we've got from a demonstration perspective.
Okay, great. So thanks, Roman. I'm like really excited about the tool we're going to show today, and especially what it can do for an organization. And the tool we're going to be looking at today is MyInvenio, and we're going to be focusing on an automotive manufacturer, and specifically around their procure to pay. And just to level set, the procure to pay is a process of integrating purchasing and accounts payable systems to create greater efficiencies. And it involves 4 key stages, and that would be purchasing, ordering, invoicing, and payment. Why do I bring that up? Because one of the key features of MyInvenio is something you don't get out of the traditional process mining tool. And that's the ability to have multi-level process mining. And what that is that's the ability to take each one of those 4 stages, the purchasing, ordering, invoicing, and payment, and create an end-to-end look with a holistic view of the process. Traditional process mining tools, you're going to have to go in and pull each one of these up and do separate analyzing. So we'll see that as we go into the tool, how MyInvenio presents this. Some of the objectives that this customer was looking for is they wanted to get an idea of their as-is analysis. They wanted to monitor the compliance, see their performance, and then also check spend under management. And within the tool, there's a standard P2P approach that has some dashboards that looks at 5 areas. And those 5 areas are listed here. Savings if we were to manage these this average buying. Down below here, you can see by vendor, the order items and the average lead time, and you have the ability to drill into specific vendors if you'd like to. Moving over to the invoice Maverick, and these are invoices that don't have a purchase order. Again, the same look, showing you the total number of invoices, total amount, and the expected savings if we were to manage these within the invoices. And again, the same look, giving you the supplier's purchasing group as well as the details. Now we're going to move on to the next deviation monitoring. So what we see here is the deviation from the path, the most frequent pathway. And here we're actually looking at 2 things. We're looking at the derived model, which is showing up here red, and then a reference model. So where it's showing up red is where this is only happening in the derived model and is not happening in the reference model. If we had if we had a yellow, it would indicate that there's something showing in the reference model that isn't showing in the derived model. To the right here, we actually start to be able to see where we have conformance and non-conformance. And in this case, we have 12,500 non-conformant cases. And if we take a look, there's about 19 days difference between the conformant case and the non-conformant on average, and about $16 difference. Now, we have the ability to start doing some root cause analysis and find out who the main influencers are in this case. And if my tool, there we go. So in this case, you can drill down and you can see what the main influencers are in this nonconformance, and you can start to filter in and drill in and take a look at those cases. So now we're going to move into the deviation monitor dashboard. And what this does is this kind of lays out everything from a standpoint of your resources. It shows your activities. And with those activities, it's showing the number of events and the total event cost, as well as the total humans involved, that cost, and again, the expected savings by managing these deviations. Let's transition now into rework. And this is another as-is view. So this is the third as-is view of the derived model. And you can see here, again, following the same color and thickness of arrows, we can see that the two highest rework areas are item price and delivery date. Over here is indicating the percent of automation. And we're going to be able to take a look at the automation dashboard in a few minutes, in which case it's going to show where we have automation, where we don't have automation. And as you can see here, anything in blue indicates human activities. The orange indicates where we have automation. So we can see that there are two areas, the order improved and invoice register, that have no automation. And these are opportunities for us to look at how we can potentially automate them and get some improved time as well as improved efficiency in the cost. So one of the things that Salem had mentioned was the digital twin of an organization. And one of the things that this tool can do is it generates a BPM, but it takes it one step further because it has a decision rules engine in there. And so what you'll see here is actually the BPM with decisions. And these gateways are following the DMN standard, and the BPM 2.0 is the process standards that's followed for the BPM. Now what's great about this is two of the other key features that MindVideo provides, and that's, as we showed, the automation piece, but then the ability to do simulation. And the simulation allows you to adjust things, change things, and to do it in a safe environment so that you can see what your expected savings are, but then also, rather than implementing, it allows you to fail fast within a simulated non-production look. So that's critical when you want to sit there and say, if we change things or if we change multiple things, how's that going to impact? And so using that BPMN model, we can go into simulation. And in simulation, you have the ability to adjust several things. Your scheduling, you can adjust your RPA so you can increase the automation. You can show improved waiting times if you're able to make those adjustments. And so in this case, the simulation, we're adjusting a couple things. So previously I mentioned order approved and the invoice registered were two areas that we didn't have some automation. So what we're going to do is we're going to simulate making some changes to those two areas and we're going to simulate, improving the robotic automation of both of these. And so with that, you can see that once you've implemented the information, it's going to give you an expected lead time. So we can see that we're shedding some time off here and some cost savings. And then once we run the simulation, we can get some differences here as to, what is the case count, what is the average case lead time, what are we looking at for average case cost, and the total case cost. Now, what my NVIDIA has done is it's created an event log, a simulated event log, which is being shown over here. It then compares the as is or the derived to that event log to give you these looks down here. And you can see where we have automation, and it'll give you your frequency, your average wait time. You can take a look by activity to see if those changes are going to actually do what you're looking to have happen. Once this is done, once you're happy with what the changes are, you've implemented them, then you would want to continue to monitor with that automation dashboard, coming back in to make sure that as you've implemented these changes, are they showing the results that you were expecting? If not, then it may be something that we need to go back and look at and figure out why. The final thing that I wanted to talk about and was a concern of the company was spend under management. And here we're looking to see the total amount that is paid on time or late. And again, in this dashboard, it breaks out the early payment delay, the late payment delay, and gives you the statistics around the invoices, the total amount, the average days. And then also displays, based down here, you have your suppliers, and you have the early pay and the late pay suppliers.
Excellent.
And so with all these changes that they made, the expected savings we had originally saw was $885. The realized savings by this company was $734,000 they realized in savings.
Wow.
So with that, Roman, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thanks for walking us through that. It is a powerful piece of technology. I promised we would talk a little bit about quantified benefits, but before the end of the time here, I do want us to, just walk through what the customer journey would be, right? At Prolifics, we pride ourselves on taking our customers through a journey that's, they've got some control over. On where we're actually heading. So it's, all agile-based development that we're doing here. So as we initially start off, whenever I start to talk with a customer, I talk about our discovery workshop. Now, our discovery workshop from my level at the 30,000-foot view is a great half day to a full day virtual session, virtual in these COVID times, but it's a half day to a full day session, complementary for us to get an understanding of what the true business impacts that, a journey down process mining will have. Salim, do you want to just talk at high level here, and then we'll open it up to Q&A if anybody's got any questions, but walk us through this on how easy it actually is to get started with us.
Certainly, Roman. So we really devised this approach to making sure that we are quickly converging to that business case messaging that we talked about during this presentation. And before we really do that, we want to make sure that we put all the readiness and then all the necessary steps through this discovery workshop. This is a free workshop, so all what we are looking really just a time investment from our customers. And then the focus is really two things. We take an overall broad view for operational challenges of given organization. That's actually objective one. The second objective is really identifying that low-hanging fruit, that slice of a process that will quickly demonstrate the power of process mining and then leading us to a successful business case. That's why we have divided into two approaches. The first, like 2 steps, we do the process assessment phase. That's actually the first 2 hours or the first half day of the workshop, depending on duration. And then the second one is the focus on data. Data is very important. And then we have our proven methodologies, depending on the system, whether you have a known system or a homegrown system, how we're going to go about quickly extracting that data so that we are able to visualize the process and then get those insights that will lead us then into that business case we will implement in the Jumpstart. During the Jumpstart, we develop the business case, we define all those outcomes that we mentioned earlier, and then comes in once we prove it, like obviously we're going to have the data, we're going to have the savings, and then we run this with the basically the sponsors and then executive sponsors at the customer side, and then after that we go with the implementation through our project implementation capabilities.
It sounds like even with the Jumpstart, Salam, that there's direct benefits that the customer gets out of that leads them and prepares them actually to go into the next journey, to where the project implementation with that guaranteed business value that's achieved is really where it's going to come in, and it's going to be continuously monitored. It sounds complicated, but after I've learned about, through this process of building out this slide deck and talking with you and getting demonstrations, I mean, at the end of the day, at the most basic level, I mean, it sounds like we just need 3 things, right? Of course we want more, but at the basic level, a timestamp, a unique case ID, and an activity ID coming out of log files can really get us started and jump started on process mining. Is that a correct assumption?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's a very correct assumption. I think, as you said, right, data quality is very key, but then knowing how to go about selecting those, basically selecting those slices to prove the concept. Then after that, once you set up your process mining infrastructure, then it's really continuous improvement, right? You get the data, you have the time for you to do any preparation of the data because you have learned the methodology from Prolifics. And then after that, you can actually now, not only you are moving from a Jumpstart to more of that end-to-end implementation, which will be adequate for processes which are interdepartmental.
Yeah. And I always love, you have to have the right mindset going into a process mining journey. I've had a customer a couple of weeks ago say, well, I don't process mapping, that's 3-year project. I don't want to do that. And it took me a little bit to get over the hump with them, but I said, you have to leave your biases at the door about how the previous process mapping exercises went. This is different, right? We're not putting the onus on the humans to tell us about their process. We're letting the actual data tell their story, tell its story. And that's really powerful in the enterprise, especially whenever we're looking to optimize or digitally transform an organization. So why should anybody choose Prolifics for process mining, other than that we're the coolest company on the face of the earth? We've also got decades of experience, successful experience with inside of automation engagements. And this spans across all industries. We can go deep, and, whenever I came on board, I was amazed at how many industries we are so deep in. With process mining and with Prolifics, you get a quicker outcome, right? About 3 weeks is your first outcome based, that we're looking at. And we do that just because we have our methodology that we talked to in this presentation. But more importantly, we've got the bruises, scars, and awards that actually let us pass on that knowledge into our new customers and our current customers to bring them that expertise as they go on their hyper automation journey. Not to mention that it's a one-stop shop. We do a lot here at Prolifics. But the number one thing that I see people signing up for process mining right now, especially with us, is the fact that we're putting our guarantee on that we're giving something before we get something. And I think that that's key in today's business. especially with so many different point products out there and shiny objects that are on the shelf. It really shows a lot that Prolifics is, putting the money where our mouth is and actually, showing up to do the work. So with that, Salam, Erica, Brian, I would like to thank everybody for joining today. We are at the 1:15 mark, but I'm more than happy to keep this open if we have any questions. I'll go ahead and unmute all right now. So if we do have any questions, please fire away. I saw that we actually had some questions in the chat here, and Salam, I think you were actually answering those, on a per basis. One of them was, how do you accommodate for systems that don't track write activities to logs? Many mainframe legacy systems don't capture metrics on tasks, etc. How would we go about that, Salam? If you just want to answer that one quick.
Certainly, yeah. You can look at this from really two ways. Obviously, there is task mining, and then part of a process mining exercise, there is also task mining that focuses really on those basically activities in which you do clicks in a desktop or so, and however there is no entry to a given system. So that's one way to capture that manual activity that didn't leave a digital footprint. But then also, no footprint means a gap in a process, but then process mining will look at this from an end-to-end view, so it will identify that there are actually manual gaps, and then we are able then to zoom into those. So really, even no footprint is also an insight from a process mining exercise.
Very interesting. Well, excellent. I appreciate that point. I appreciate everybody taking time out of their day today to join the Process Mining with Prolifics event here. I will be, that was recorded, and I will be posting this online. So please, you can view it at your pleasure. Just give me a day or two to do that. Otherwise, thanks to our speakers. Erica, thanks for keeping us on track here. And look forward to talking with everybody in the future as we have more of these. So thank you, and goodbye for now.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.